Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to go in details on how to structure our dashboard and also design the cards, the list, the chart, and the table. So we'll basically be focusing on that, on how to create those sections. We're also going to go in details to create the courses part of the dashboard, because remember we are trying to design an e-tutor dashboard that helps tutors to create courses for students. So the tutors will be able to track their courses, track enrollment of students, and the money being made from their courses through this particular dashboard. So we're basically going to create tables where they can see their transaction history, their recent activities, their revenue, and a card that shows the summary of all their activities. We're also going to go in details to also design the my courses section. So guys, before we dive into the video, please take your time to subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Gloria Leonard. I'm a UI UX designer. I create tutorials for beginners who are trying to start out in UI UX design. I was once a beginner in UI UX design, so I understand your pain points. I basically post videos every week on everything UI UX design. So if you want to grow your UI UX skills as a beginner, this is the right channel for you. So please guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos, guys. Yeah, so let's dive into the video.
So the next one we're going to design for is the header. So the header is going to basically have just like a good morning text, and also a place where they can search and also see a notification on person's account. So I already have that. All the assets I'll be using for this video, I already have them here, so that although we'll be creating some from scratch, so that I can show you how I was able to create this. So let's paste our assets here. So this is what we're basically going to use. So mind you, we're not leaving our red square method left out. So we're going to use 24. Why I'm using this is I want to be sure the exact spacing that was used from top to bottom. Just be with me. And or increase the length of this, because the same spacing we use for that place is the same spacing we're going to use um for this particular asset we want to design for this particular section of that we want to design for. We have to make sure the spacing here is equal to the spacing we have for this sidebar. So just be with me, you understand. So without the red square method, most times newbies or junior designers tend to just dump things on the screen, but the red square method helps you to like figure out, okay, this white space that is here, what measurement am I going to give for the white space, what measurement am I going to give for this white, but there are different white space we're seeing here. There's a white space here, this is a white space, this is also a white space, we have white space here. All this white space we're seeing here, we don't just dump things on the screen. Everything is actually calculated. So that's one advantage of making use of the red square method. So let me change this to the font I'm using. So I'm using Neon Tool Sans. Neon Tool Sans. I love this font so much. Neon Tool Sans. So I just want to change it to that. So we have to sounds. So I'm going to make use of my text color that I've already defined. Let's see. Okay, make use of my text color already defined here. So I already have text color that I'm going using. Do the same for this. Give this infuse the opacity and make it a little bit faint. So that's it for that. So, and the spacing between the two texts, we can make use of up to layouts. So You can also make use of the red square method for this, but you can also make use of auto layout too. So yeah, so the spacing here is 6. Let me make it 8. Because remember, we're using multiple of numbers that are divisible by 8 rather. So I'm also going to bring in this here and place it nicely. Yeah, so then we'll zoom in and make sure it is placed at the top like this. So right now, we are going to move our grid so that we can see what we are working with. So don't worry about the red boxes, I'm gonna remove it. So it's let's try to confirm the ranges I use for that so that each and every asset is going to be consistent. So that's one thing about designing. Junior designers, they don't know this, they just feel the dumplings on the screen, but most times it's not like that. Even when coding, the developers make use of reusable components, like they don't code things from scratch. So most times I'll be talking about that in another video. Let me not digress. So I want to change this to our color. So our color is a little bit faint. Also be saying changes to auto. Back consistency, guys. Consistency is everything. So it's not a rush work. So we use it for that. For is it also changes to service black. I'll change it to our black. That's one. I'll change it to our blue. And of black blue I using notification. And that is that. So I want to teach you guys, since we have an image here. Okay, since we have an image here, I don't need to put another image here. So let me just this. We're only going to have these two. Let me bring in the grid of our content area so that we know where we are placing elements. So yeah, that is it, and I'm going to give this a different feel because this is not kind of visible because of the background color we have. So I'm going to click like this, place it here, and try to, let me say, give it a little bit of white, like light, between white and a lighter shade of blue, something like that. If it doesn't work, I keep on changing it till it fits. So let me remove this red square, and this is what we have. So as you can see, our dashboard is forming together. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to design the cards. So I already have a set of a card here, but let me just take this because I've been making use of the icons here, but we're doing it from scratch. So let me just paste it here. So for us to design our cards, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to ensure that the spacing between, let me group this section. The spacing between this section, we have to make sure we define the spacing between this section and the card. So we're going to use our red square to define that spacing. So I want to also make sure, I want to confirm the spacing that was used in this place. let's see the spacing that we use here. That means we use 40. Let me see. We use 44, okay? So let's make use of 40 instead of 32. So just paste it here. Want to make sure the spacing between here and here it matches. So let me confirm, bring it down, bring it down. So let me just move it down, move it up. So yeah, so I think that's, so make sure it laps at the edge of this text here. So I'm going to bring in my grid, because my grid is going to help me to define my boxes. So as you can see, we're making use of a 12-point grid. So each of these grid can give us let's say 5, let me say 3 here, 3 here, 3 here. It can give us 4 boxes. Just be with me, you understand what I was talking about. So I'm going to drag the card, going to draw the card rather. So this is my card. I'm giving it a little radius of 10. Yeah. So I'm trying to make sure is the height is divisible by 8. So 140, I think 140 is too small. So keep on adding 8 till we get our desired height. So let me just add one more 8. Let me just add one more 8 to this. Okay, I think this is okay. So we're basically going to give this a white fill. We'll give this a white fill. We'll get this assets, place it here, bring it front. So here's all of our grids that we can see what we are doing. So inside this box, remember there's a white space between here and this element here. There's a white space between here and the element here. So this is basically an icon. So you can get an icon pack. So I've already shown you how to get an icon pack from Figma community. So you can get an icon pack and design it. So this is basically a rectangle. We give it a color and also give it the same a higher version of the color for the icon. So let's just focus on the structure of our dashboard. So I'm giving this 8 color radius of 8, spacing between here and here. I think I'll make use of 24. So let's make use of 24. Let's see how that goes. Let's see, 24 here, 24 here. So just place it. Let's see right side. Still have so 1 pixel left. So just place it this way. It's still at the same time. So I'll do the same thing here. So make sure our text I'm also showing the enrolled courses. So showing the enrolled courses. Make sure it's okay. It's aligned to the left. So change this to our desired new desired fonts. So just quickly changes to the color already defined. Changes to the color. Give this make this fit for. Here's the opacity. And now we have our we have our face card. So we just group everything. So also, before I forget, we'll define the spacing between these two. You can make use of auto layers and make it 16. 16 is divisible by 8. So I'm going to group this. You can group this, or you can use frame that. So I group that. So I'm going to bring in the grid so that we can know how we place all the cards. So I'll duplicate this, place it here. Do the same thing for the next card. Place it here. Place it here. So as you can see, our dashboard is coming together little by little. So we're going to change this. So we'll change this first one to active courses. So basically, well, Control-C and bring it out from here. So we're basically going to replace this with the one we already have and just give this a radius of 8, color radius of 8. So do that, copy and replace. We're making adjustments to the colors we have here. So let's go back to our inspiration. Okay, let's make use of gray, orange, okay. Let's say I could maybe we'll define our old quell that we use for that. So let's just feed them in. So all these review. So active courses, total number of active courses. I'm going to put ours as 20. So when designing a dashboard, you need to make sure you fill in the right data. Even most times we tend to use long if some, but right now we have AI tools like ChatGPT that can help us come up with some written content for our design. So instead of using long if some, so you just use ChatGPT, put a prompt, let ChatGPT know a UiUx designer, also like put a prompt, the right prompt rather. I will let ChatGPT know the topic and the goal of the project, like the goal of the project you want to achieve, and ChatGPT will produce the right content for that, and you can use it and replace on your design. So there is no time to start coming up with content with long ISO, because most times if you have long ISO in your portfolio, it will make you look like an amateur. So most times when presenting yourself online, you need to present yourself as a professional. So that's why you have to pay attention to every single details you are doing. So here is going to be course instructors, total numbers of course instructors. Total number of course instructors. So we'll give this 100. I just make 1000. So the next one is going to be completed courses. Completed courses. The next one is going to be completed courses. I'm going to make this 1, 2, 3. So change this to so as you can see our table is called our dashboard is coming together. So somehow I don't know why I'm not feeling okay with this being white, but let me go back to my mood boards and see other dashboard designs. Let me see. We'll go back to other ones. So it's all white, to touch on green. It's all white, so don't know what is on that. So most times this is what happens when you're designing. Most times when I'm designing and I design a section and maybe I'm not satisfied with what I came up with, I'll just go back to my mood board to feed my eye. So that's just how to do make sure that you're in line with the kind of vision you have for the design. Because most times when we as UiUX designers, well, we'll giving a project, also we have like a visual presentation in our head on how the project is going to look. So most times, even when the design is being UI design is being fleshed out, you tend to look at it, do some little brush up to make sure it has a kind of perfect look. So it going through. Okay, so let's go back to our design and look at it for the last time. So let me remove this. So remove this and look at it. Okay. So the confidence this is kind of close, it's too close to this. But let's see. Let me preview my design and see how it looks. Most times, reviewing your design makes you to know where the little errors are coming from. So most times when you design, review your designs to know how it looks. You see like a bigger version of what you are designing so that you can tweak some things to give it some finishing touch and perfect look. So I don't know why I'm not okay with this card. And I feel this is too big. Yeah, this is too big. Okay, I just leave it at that.
So the next one we're going to create a chart that shows the revenue. So for this, I was complaining formally that I didn't like the way the card there's something off about it. So I later figured that out. That was the size of this text. So I reduced it to 22. So I also changed the total numbers of instructors, tutors to total numbers of inning. So the link of the file is going to be linked either in the PDF or below this video. So let's create this card. So chart rather. So first thing I'm going to do, I'll define the spacing I want to maintain between this section and the chart. So I'm going to let me make use of 24. So make use of 24. So I'll place it here, place it there. Then I'm going to draw my rectangle. So this rectangle, I want it to take 6 column. Yeah, 6 column. So because we want it to be very big, then the width of it so our width is going to our height rather going to make use of 400. I'm giving this pure white and giving this a rounded corner of 10. Give this rounded corner of 10. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to define the spacing that's going to be around the element inside the chart. So let's first start with the heading. So I will basically take these two elements. Let me group them so that it will be easy for me to bring them to front. Bring it to front. So I'm starting with the heading of it. So I'm going to define the spacing around here. So I'm thinking of using 24 because I use 24 around the corners of the element of these cards. So let's use 24. So 24 here. Bring it to the front. So just be with me, you understand what I mean. So 24, I'll just drag it this way so that I know that will be the space at the top. So bring this down here, 24 below. So don't worry, just be with me, you will know why I am doing this. So 24 by the side. That's why I love the red square method. Helps me to define my spacing, making it very easy for developers to work with my designs. So basically place this, make it to leave at the tip. So bring it out a bit. So then do the same for this one. Then carry it up. So most times when you are trying to lap your elements, as you can see, the tallest character here is the T and H. So you're going to use the T as your like measurement for the T to touch the red square. So don't worry, if you don't understand what I mean in another example, you'll get what I mean. So let's go on. So that's it for our revenue. So basically change this to neutral sans and the color change it to our default column. While that is loading, go to this and make it new to sans 2 and give it our color. Make this 64. Make this 64. Ensure that it laps. Change the color of this. So now I've gotten our top. So the next thing we're going to do is to draft out this number. And with the help of our rescue method, it's very easy for us to do that. We're not just dumping things on the canvas. Everything is purposeful, guys. So I wish I had courses like this when I started. I wouldn't have been making some mistake I made as a junior designer. So I thank God for courses like this that can help you out for you to be a professional in creating dashboard. So for this section, for this particular part, make sure we're maintaining our spacing. So the spacing, I might go with a line. Let me see if I'll go with a line at the top, but mm, okay, so let me go with this line at the top. Drag the line and bring it here. So even to draw the line, you have to make sure that the spacing between this text and the line is divisible by 8. So you can notice that we are paying attention to the smallest details. So I'll just draw it there so that I won't start. So I had to arrange the frames and elements so that we won't have difficulty locating where our elements are. So let me create a spacing. So the spacing I want to use between the text and the line, I want to use 16 pixels. So I'm using 16 pixels for the spacing between the text and the line. You can see how purposeful and detailed we are to every single spacing element of this design. So most times coming up with a good design does not have to be a rush, because you have to take your time and make sure so many things comes together. So for this, I'll be removing 1 million. I think 1 million is needed. Let me bring it. Okay, so let me increase the circle, rectangle rather. Bring this down. Make sure this is touching the tip and okay, let me just move this up. Make sure this okay, and move this up. Make sure everything laps very well. And move this up, drag this down, then change the text style. Change the font to them quickly, not to sands all the way, so that hastily. No need to sounds. Change all of them to our color. Reduce this to 54, and then we next thing we're going to do is to come up with our graph. So before we go into our chart rather, I want to point out something. I think I'm forgetting something. So let me quickly draw this before I mention what I want to mention. So paste this down here. So I want to make sure I use 24 spacing between this and this. I use 29. No. Okay, let me just do it this way. 24, 4. So most times when coming up with design, you have to be patient because little things you have to pay attention to what you are doing. Though most times some clients tend to pressurize UI UX designers or try to make the work very hastily based on the project timeline. Though you have to be fast a bit to make sure you deliver, but at the same time you also need to try to be professional. So one major hack in creating whether a dashboard design, website design, or mobile app is that once you can get the structure of the first page, the other page is going to be easier for you to handle. So that's the secret. That's what I actually do. So it took me time for me to learn that hack, though it was experience that actually made me to know that, oh, this client has a timeline. So most times I try as much as I can to produce the first page. Just like now we're trying to figure out how to create the home page of this dashboard. Once we create this, we already know the structure, we already know the theme, and whatever we're going to use for other pages has already been defined here. So just like every other thing will be created with the format we've already defined here. So yeah, so that's the secret of creating UI. Once you create the first page, either for your website, UI design, or a dashboard, or a mobile app, because the first page helps you to define the theme, the color, the font, the structure of the page. So once you define that first one, every other one will be easier for you to do. Every other page that follows that particular first page. So what I wanted to point out was that if you notice this particular these are numbers we're trying to represent it, and they were trying to create a chart that shows the revenue um in revenue either weekly, monthly, or yearly. So right now we have different figures, different amounts here. So if you notice the whole numbers here, they are left aligned, and One, let me just ungroup so that you understand what I mean. Most times, junior designers, I'm always mentioning this because I was once a junior designer. We tend to make mistake of placing it something like this. As you can see right now, formerly it was left around. Right now I changed it to um, right aligned, right aligned. So most times the way you arrange your number also tells how the user is going to easily read it. So in this case, it's better you make it left aligned because the highest number is going to be noticed. The user is very easy for the user to know, okay, this is the highest, this is the lowest, than when it is left aligned. So don't worry if you don't understand what I mean. So we'll carry up another um, design, another example, and you will understand. So the next thing we're going to do now is to draw the chart. So let's recreate our chart. So for this chart, we're going to make use of our pen tool. So now this is our pen tool. We'll start drawing. It can be a zigzag chart, whichever way we want to. I'm trying to increase the spacing here to make sure it laps. I almost forgot that. Make sure it laps. So right now we have created our zigzag line with our pen tool. Come over here and make sure our line edges are rounded. We'll give it a fill. We can give it any color of our choice. We can decide to give it this color. Things like a bluish purple. Then we can increase it to something like 4, or let's just make it 3. So the next thing we want to do is to come up with this faded color below. We can even go as far as making the edges curved. So we want to make the edges curved. Let's reduce it to 3. So edges curved. So for us to achieve this faded part, we're going to duplicate this line we created with pen tool. When we have the duplicate, this was the first one we created. Let me lock it. Then the duplicate, we're going to make use of the pen tool. So let me hide this one and make sure this is the only one we have so that we won't be confused. So I'll get my pen tool. Just be with me. You understand why I'm doing this. Click here with my pen tool and click here. So with this now, I can add a fill to this, remove the stroke and give it a fill, then make it a linear gradient, reduce the first fill, do that for the second one, make it very faint, do the same for the other one, make it very faint. So with that, I can bring the former one I have back and voila, we have our charts. So though this chart, I'm not really okay with it because this one looks beautiful than this, but this is an easiest way of creating your chart. Another way of creating your chart is by going to Figma community and searching for charts. There are different charts already designed there, so you can bring them into your design project and make use of them for your design project to save time. Because most times one of the major thing I want, most times when a client is put a very tight timeline to delivery of a project, most times I use already defined designed assets to make sure my work is faster. So Figma community contains so many already designed assets ranging from charts, icons, images, mobile design, dashboard design, just name it. You're going to see it there. So most times, for example, if a client wants you to design a fintech app, just like what I showed you about getting inspiration from Figma community, you can go there, view others what's it called, and go to Figma community, search for fintech apps. You see the design that we already created. You can go there to get inspiration for the theme you want to use, take the assets, refactor the asset. Because most time, just like this now, the one I used for this was internal font, but here I'm changing it to Monito based on the context. So most times when you go to Figma community, you can do the same thing. You can bring in most of all those assets you find in any of the file you find in Figma community, refactor it to suit the project you are working on, and that's it. So for this, let me do some finishing touching. So raise this up. I think I'll give this 0. Drag this down. Increase the fill of this one so that it will look excellent. So as you can see, this is looking excellent. So this is basically a circle, a stroke, give it a stroke and a drop shadow. So that's very easy to make. Then we'll bring in our pin so that the user will know the particular place they are pointing in the chart. So let me bring it in. So I group this, let me copy that and bring it control here, bring it in. So we want to refactor this because for this design we're basically making use of rounded corners. So just want to make this rounded. Before I do that, let me uh okay, so this is it, make it rounded. Okay, and go to this place, and this is just basically a rectangle and a triangle. So I'll show you how to create that so in a bit. So let's just complete this here. Just make it to have this kind of rounded feel, and then we'll have our pin to show where they are. So Yeah, so this pin, so change the font, not forgot that. Change the font to the font we are using here. Change this to our font, the color. I think this is like a bluish black. Let's leave it at this. And voila, that is our card. So basically remove all this red, like unboxing, a unboxing a new product. Anytime I'm removing these red boxes, I feel I'm unboxing a new product to see what is inside. So now this is our cart, our chart. I remove it and it looks so professional, guys. So professional. So this, I think I gave this a rounded corner. Let me reduce it to 0 and looks better this way. And this is our card, guys. So I said I'm going to teach you how to create this particular black part. So let me teach you before I forget that. So to create that part, let's say for example, this is a white box. Draw a white rectangle, then we'll go with our triangle, invert it. I think this is 180 degrees inversion, moving this up. So basically this is how it looks when you keep it together. So best thing to do is to click on it and use the union. So this is why I said I'm going to show you how to do it. Use the union, then use your curve, and so you can see I make this curvy. So let me remove it from all of them, give it 0. Make only, you can still click on, you can see a union is formed inside the union. We have the rectangle and the polygon, which I call triangle. To give it 8, then we can click on the polygon and give it a roundness of 1. So and voila, that is our pin. So this is basically how that was created. So the next thing we're designing is the recent activities section. So I made a video of how I was able to create this, but the video didn't save. So let me just explain. So this is, we just did the same process we went through while creating this particular chart. That was the same thing we did here. So the first thing, I created a rectangle, taking the remaining let me just taking the remaining 5 column, because remember here this particular chart took 7 column, though our initial plan was for it to take 6, but I mistakenly made it to take 7. So the remaining 5 columns, we're using it for these recent activities. So remember our spacing here is 24, and spacing by the side is also 24. So right now this is just text, circles, and icon inside. So the spacing between this icon and this text is 1616. So this is just simple text and a necklace and an icon. So that's easy to do. So we'll just give the spacing between these elements here. Let's start with, first of all, I have to define the spacing between this line and this text. So let me see, 24. If 24 does not go, we're going to make use of we're going to make use of 16. So let's see how it looks when it's 24 there. So let me keep it here instead, drag it down. drag it down. So this is how it looks when it's 24. So I think 24 is too much. Let me just use 16. So I'm using 16, so I lapped it at the top. So the spacing between this elements right now is 18. Let me increase it to 19. Let me just use 20. Numbers are divisible by 4. So bring it down. Let me just leave it at 18. 18 is still okay. Though this is not lapping down, but it's still okay. It's just one pixel different. And here we go. We have our recent activity section. Let me remove this grid so that you can see what we have. So as you can see, our dashboard is coming together. Remember when we started with no idea at all, and right now we have this. So let me just group the whole of this. So group it and frame. So yeah, so that's it for this section. So if you have any question, please don't forget to send me an email if you have any question. So you can always comment. So guys, in this particular section, we're going to be creating our dashboard table. So as you can see, I already started. The first video I recorded, I was actually thinking I was recording, not knowing it wasn't recording at all. So what I basically did, I used my red square to define the spacing. Let me bring this in. Let me bring this into the content area. So I defined the spacing here, 24 here up, 24 here by the side, just like we have been doing for others. Then the spacing here, I used 16, that's the spacing between the text and the line. I made use of 16. So I also defined the spacing here. So the spacing here, that's the title of the table between the line. I'm also going to use 16. So I basically fleshed out all the table content. So for the table, we have name, date, time, method, amount, and status. So so right now, what I'm basically doing is to define the spacing within each table content. So here we're making use of 40. So 40 is going to be the spacing. So let me align this quickly so that it's going to line with others. So let me do that quickly. So one other tips I made sure in the video I was trying to record before it deleted was that whenever you're creating dashboard tables, you have to make sure you fill in the right data. Remember back in the days when most times when we're designing websites, make use of lum ipsum. So right now, there is no need to be using lum ipsum test to fill in your UI content. You can use ChatGPT to generate actual content for your UI designs. So right now I have all my elements. So I'll basically start aligning them horizontally. So I'll align them horizontally to make sure they all lap at the tip of the 40. So let me also define the spacing between the name and this so I can decide to use 16. So let me still need to adjust this upward. So I'm going to adjust it upward. Let me do this quickly. Move this upward. Make sure it laps this. So leave it like this. So this is aligned. So we're going to adjust the next one. Make sure it's well aligned and move it upward. So bring this down. So leave it this way. So move this up. As you can see now, I've aligned everything. So the next spacing we're going to define is the spacing here vertically. So let me duplicate this, because most times one thing I want you to notice is that most times when creating dashboard tables, you have to give extra space, because most times a user can input up to 4 names and the names might be longer than the one we already represented on our design. For example, here, when creating the names, I created names for example, user input 3 names, created a name for two, and for 2 names, like created 2 names, because most times some users might have up to 4 names. So you have to give space for that in your design. So you don't just assume that, oh, because my design is having only 1 name, that means the user is going to, in real life, when the user is using the application, the user is going to have 1 name. Most time it's not always like that. Right now you can see here there is a scenario where a user just input 1 name. Here we have a scenario where the user input 2 name, 3 name. So there can also be a scenario where the spelling of the name can be very long. So that's why I'm giving enough space. This is 40, width of 40, so I'm leaving it here, so it's going to align like this. So I will, let me show you what I did. So this was, let me do it from the beginning so that you'll not be confused. So this is 40. So because the username can be longer than the one we already entered, so I'll make it lean on the date. So I'll just increase it downward. So for the so we're trying to define the spacing that is going to be between each element. So we can also give extra spacing for I think the spacing, this date, what we have here is okay, so we're not giving extra spacing. So let me ungroup this. So let me just leave it the way it is, because I've already used auto layout to spacing here. So I'll leave it that way. So there is no need for me to like start spacing. So because we already use auto layout to define the spacing here, so the spacing of this place, we're making use of 176. So because this is a bigger table, we have used this table title, which is one, we have defined the spacing between the table title element, which is 176. So what we're going to do, we're going to make sure everything are well aligned. So quickly click this, make sure it's well aligned. If it was for a smaller table, we're going to make use, maybe in the next example I'm going to make use of a smaller table so that you can see what I was trying to explain. So I'll move this. I'm trying to make this to align, and I also left align this, so this is left aligned so that the user can see the um, date that has the biggest number. So making use of left aligned for this too. So in the aspect of amount, this is going to be left aligned so that the user can see the numbers that is with the biggest amount of money. So let's go ahead and align this very well. So you find the spacing here. This table is not going to be a very long table. So and now we have our table. So let me delete this quickly so that we can see what we have. So as you can see, now we have our table. What we're going to do now, we're going to try to differentiate the title of this table from the text, from the main content rather, so that the user can differentiate them. So I'll just make this a little bit faint so that it can be differentiated. Then I'll move this downward a bit because I feel this is kind of close. So I'll just have to select all of this quickly. I'll just group all of them, then move it downward a bit, like 2 pixels. I feel it's kind of close, and now that I have all of these, I'm going to increase the feel of this to make it a little bit thicker. So I think I'll give it 68. So, so now we have that. As you can see, our table is coming together. So now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to define if a particular element is being selected. I'm feeling there's a little mistake I made in this table. So let me go ahead, and most times when you design, you need to revise what you do and confirm if there is any mistake. So let me come, because I'm feeling there's a little mistake here. Is 24, and as you can see, I knew there was a mistake. This is not well aligned. This elements here well aligned. I have to bring it inward. So, bring it inward. Now I think that is settled. Let me remove my red square and see how it looks. So I still feel this table I designed, it can still be better, because most times when you come up with a design, most time it's not always in the. Let me bring back my red square and bring in this so the user can filter. The user can filter. I want that filter to be there. Bring this to front and ensure aligned with the transaction history text. Okay, so So now it's well aligned, so I can delete this. So right now I want to create a state if, for example, a particular element is being selected. It's being selected. Let me bring this to front. So let me define a state if, for example, one is being selected. So I'll just make this pure white and then give this a fill, an effect rather. Let me give it a y axis and see how it looks. So let me give the x axis 0, give it on the y axis, and reduce the color. Let me reduce the color a bit. Don't want it to be thick. Increase the blur. I want it to be blur. Then you can go as far as giving the rectangle a stroke. The stroke is going to be our normal color. Let me change this to okay. This. So this is our stroke. We can also reduce the stroke, give it 4, make it very faint. You can go as giving this a rounded corner. Let's see how it looks with a rounded corner of 8. So this is how it looks. Let's reduce rounded corner to 5. So this is how it's going to look when the user selects a particular cell in the table. So you can still go ahead as far as increasing the blur, making it to be blur, making this to be reduced to 5. Just give it that kind of faint look. Still working on the look stroke. Give it 0.5. Make it to be as faint as possible. Don't really want it to be visible. So let me also think the stroke is too tiny. Let me reduce the 3 and let's give the stroke 0.8. Paint is okay. So as you can see, this is how it's going to look when the user selects. So I can just move this my to ensure it's in the center. So yeah, it's in the center. So another thing is that you might want to see other inspiration for tables because most of the mood board we created initially they have tables, but I want to show you how to get inspiration, for example, for a particular feature you want to design. For example, now this our particular dashboard, depending on our project goal, is demanding us for us to create a transaction history table. So if you notice now, most of our mood board here, they have some of them might have a table, but it might not be a transaction history table. So you can also go to Dribble or you can do a Google search of transaction um, and do transaction history. Transaction history and withdrawal history is the same thing. So you can do okay, let me just use transaction history. Let me not assume they are the same thing. So you can do transaction, you can just do a Google search of transaction history dashboard UI design. And you're going to see different, you can, like most times, if you are designing a particular element, either it is a card, you might just, you can decide to go to Google to get inspiration for that particular element. For example, we're designing a card or designing a chart. You can just go to Google and search for um what's it called? chat dashboard UI inspiration. So I just like where I searched for transaction history inspiration because I wanted to get inspiration on how different another way I can design this table. So as you can see now, because of my Google search, I've gotten different inspiration. For example, I'm not okay. For example, I'm not okay with this, and I want to iterate more and see how other designers design their tables so that I can get one or two ideas. So you can see the way this person designed their transaction overview completed. So most times this their design, just like right now in this what the our project goal is for an e-tutor software, so we don't necessarily need an overview and completed tab, but you can still get inspiration for how they use lines in their table. So there are some little things you can get inspiration from. So most times, just like what I said, when we're creating our mood board, most times when you are crafting out your UI design, you don't just get inspiration from one place. You can see the way they design their title here. They give it a light shade of gray here. So we can also do that for our title here, giving it a lighter shade so that the user can know the difference between our titles, our table titles, and the main table content. You can see the way it's being differentiated. So that's like a little another way of getting UI inspiration. You cannot most times, just like where we started, we got inspiration for how we're going to structure our dashboard. Sometimes you might just want to design a sidebar. You might not be okay with the first mood board you created. You can just go to Google and search for dashboard sidebar UI inspiration, and you see inspiration for individual elements. So I just want you to know that because it can actually quicken the way you get inspiration and make your design more unique, because your inspiration will not be gotten from one place. So far I'm okay with this my table, and yeah, that's it for dashboard table. So I want to speak on a scenario where we have a smaller data table, how we're going to work with the spacing. So if you notice in this particular table, the spacing between the names and the leads is quite bigger than the spacing we have between the leads and the DR. As you can see, this is the spacing we have. This is the spacing we have between the leads and the disk is smaller. So why this the spacing between the ref and the lead is bigger? Because a user might enter more than one name, and because of that, we have to make sure we design for that scenario. We don't just want to assume that a user is going to add just one particular name in their data table. There's when most of the time when we design an application, when it's being used by real users, most times some users can even go as far as entering five names. So you have to design for that particular state when a user add more than one name. So because we know that users might have there is every possibility of users entering more than one name, so we gave enough space in our data table to accommodate that. So for the leads, we just have numbers, though the numbers can increase. So that's why we give this particular space. Same with the deal. For the tax, a tax can be more than one. So that's why I also give this bigger space. Bigger space can also be given for the deal, because most times numbers, a user can enter thousands, enter bigger numbers, and um, that also has to be designed for. In a scenario a user enters a figure like this, so because of that you have to give enough white space so that everything is not going to be jam packed. So I just wanted to add that so that you won't be confused whenever you're creating dashboard tables. But most times, for example, the particular table we're creating now is for a bigger table. So what I basically did was to use auto layout to give um, my table titles spacing. I use auto layout to space my table titles. So with that, I can now arrange my table content to suit to be aligned with the table title. So let me take for example, let me do what I'm trying to explain. So for example, these names, that's in the aspect when I'm using um auto layout if it's for a bigger table. So this is going to lap like this if it's for a bigger table, but since it's for a small table, so this is basically what I did to make sure the whole content enters and there is enough space. I just want you to note that. So but if you have any further questions, so don't forget to send me an email and also leave a comment. If you are wondering how can you define this spacing when creating a smaller dashboard table like this, so what I did was to place my 40 here. So I just basically give space here because I know that, oh, um as you can see, this is the um, lengthiest number name here in this table. So I just put 40 here, okay, 48 rather here, and I just give the white space here. As you can see, there's white space here at the top, so I can still use the same 40 here. So I can go as far as reducing this to, let me say, 40. Let me see how 40 is going to be with this. Okay, I can give a spacing of 40 here. Same with this, I can go with, I think here, sorry, I said 40. Let me use 42. Go with 42 here. I can say, okay, I want the spacing of 42 here, the spacing between the leads and the deal. Then for this place, let me see whether I can make use of the same spacing I use between the names and the leads. So I can say, okay, I might want to use the same spacing because the number might be lengthier. So I might still want to maintain the same spacing here. I will make this red square to lap here. Made a little mistake here. It's supposed to lap here. So I use the same spacing I used here for this place because this number can be increased. It can be increased by the user in a scenario where a user had extra zeros. You can see the white space is needed so that it won't be joined with the rating. So that's basically how I create my spacing when I'm trying to create a smaller data table. So I make use of red square for this scenario. So in an aspect where I'm creating a longer table like this, I can only use I just use my red square method for the spacing between this like the spacing horizontally, like the spacing between this name and the next name. I use my red square method. I think that was 48. But the spacing um vertically, like the spacing between each element, spacing between name and date, I use my auto layout here. So I use my auto layout to define the spacing between this table title. Then I place and place my content according to um, the elements that I spaced. So if you have any further questions about dashboard tables, so just let me know in the comment section, and also feel free to send me an email. Hey guys, welcome back. So in this particular section, we'll be designing for the my course session, who contains list of different courses. So I already designed for it. I was actually recording, and the recording I made while I was filming the whole process of how I designed this actually got lost. So I will just explain how I was able to design this, the spacing I used. So just as you know, our red square method, I use our red square method to define the spacing between this top nav and this filter. This is basically a filter where the user can search for different courses, sort by either latest or um, sort by either latest, then categories, different categories and ratings. I can sort by different ratings. So this is basically a filter. So the spacing between this and this, I think I use 32 for the spacing. So I also, the spacing between the filter and the card, I made use of 32. So the card now, remember we are using a 12 column grid. So each of the card is taking a three column, is sitting on on three column of the grid. So that was how I was able to come up with my card. Then for my card image, I basically use free pick to get images. So free pick, you can install the free pick plugin on your Figma. So and also search for different images. So this image I'm using fits the goal of the project. It's an e-tutor software and it's something that has to do with education. So I basically want to go for students that are in the class learning. That's the kind of images I want to use. Let me say student in class learning. So that's just the kind of images I want to use to portray what the goal of the project is all about. So most times when selecting images, you have to make sure your images align with the goal of your project. You don't just select random images. So yeah, so that was how I was able to get my image. Then another thing I want to show you about images that most people don't know, that our image, we can actually edit our image. As you see here, I had to edit my image with this edit image feature in Figma. So if you click here, you can see how to edit your image. We have the exposure rather, contrast, saturation, texture thing. So you can just play around with it to give it a very nice feel. So consistency is not only in spacing and in text, even your image when coming up using image in your UI design, it has to be consistent. So the same editing functionality I use here is the same editing I also use here. So all my images is going to have this kind of feel. So I'm going to change another image so that you can see the unique feel. As you can see, these two images, they have the same kind of feel, the same kind of bluish light bluish feel, the same kind of feel with this. So the I also made use of the red square method to define my space in the cards. So here I made use of 16. So I made use of 16 here to define the spacing, because there's a white space here. So I made use of, let me just make it 16 so that you see what let me change this to red. So 16 here. I also make use of 16 here to define the spacing between the wall of the card and this. So 16 for the side here. The whole of this was 16. The whole of this here was also 16. So as you can see, everything was consistent. So here was also 16. So the spacing between this element here, I made it 20. I wanted to make it 24, but it was quite big. So the spacing between this element here, I just gave it 20. 20 can still be divisible by 4. So it's that's fine. So that's basically how I was able to make sure there's consistent spacing, not only in my structure but also in the cards too. I use the red square method to define the spacing within the cards. So like I'm paying attention to the little details. So let me change this imaging. So I'm going to click on free pick, and also put in my student in class learning. Okay, so let me change this image to another one. So let me change. I'm looking for adults, children that are a little students rather, that are a little bit grown. This application is not for kids, it's mostly for. There's another thing you need to know is that most times applications you're creating for has an age range, like the age of people that's going to be making use of the application. So most times from the project goal, you will know that, oh, this application is not to be used by kids, it's to be used by grown-up people. So as you can see, this all my images have the same kind of feel. Everything is looking consistent, but I kind of feel this is looking a little bit darker. But since it's the same editing for others, I'm just going to the same editing I use for this, that's the same editing I use for others. So I'm just going to leave it that way. So I'm going to group my cards. Let me group my cards. So before I duplicate, I want to draw your attention to something. Whenever you are creating either a list or a content for your design, so gone are those days when we make use of long isum to put in dummy text. Nowadays we'll have ChatGPT, and that we can you make use of ChatGPT to produce content for our website. So there is no need to start making use of long if sum. So as you can see, if you watch closely, I fill in the whole of this with the right information so that it can also mimic the actual application when it's being developed. This does not only help you to look like a professional, but it also helps the project owner, the stakeholders, for them to understand the project, understand what that particular section is all about. So once they look at it, okay, these are different courses that has different name. Even the course, the cost of the courses, I change everything, make sure there are different values, the titles, the students. Let me change this one. For example, let's see how it will be when we just have five people which have taken that course. So as you can see, I did um, a scenario when we just have one five students. Here we'll have 32. Here we'll have three figures which are at 455. Here we'll have thousand. So most times when you're designing, try as much as you can to use the actual to come up with content. So content nowadays, you don't have to be a UX writer to come up with written content for your work. So you can use ChatGPT. For example, when coming up with website, you can use ChatGPT to come up with your website content. So with this now, I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm making use of 32 for the spacing between the two cards. So I'll just duplicate this and bring it down. So I'm also going to change the images and also change the text to make sure each of them look unique. So even for our tables, you can see when we're creating our tables, we made use of different data. We not just duplicate one line and just leave it. I will come up with different data as possible. So this helps. I'm just iterating this because I made this kind of mistake when starting out. I was always making use of long if sum. Most times, even nowadays, it's not good to use long if sum for your for example, you want to put a design in your being in your portfolio, and most times a client is going through your work and they are seeing long if sum. So most times it does not give in a kind of right impression about your work. It makes you look like an amateur. So try as much as you can to like fill in the right data, even if it might take time, but just come up with different data so that it can look realistic despite the fact you're just coming up with the UI design. So I'll just go ahead and use my free pick to come up with different images of students in classroom. So yeah, so I'll just go ahead and do that quickly. So another thing to note when editing your when using images in your design, always try as much as you can to edit your images. Don't just leave your images the way it is when you got it from the stock image website. As you can see, I showed you how I edited. Maybe I will just bring in a dummy image and show you the two difference between when it is edited and when it is not edited. So let me just do that quickly and show you two different images. So let me bring in two boxes here so that I can see the difference, because it actually goes a long way to make your images look very unique